Welcome into the Com Arts and Sciences building here on the campus of Michigan State for the Big Ten Plus pregame show. Jacob Maurer alongside Charlie Smickle. And Charlie, can you smell that? Can you feel that? College basketball is back in the air here at East Lansing. An exciting feeling to have.
Oh, it has been far too long. Both teams trying to build off of great last seasons, trying to take that next step forward here in this year.
And as you can see, the countdown to tip-off is just underway shortly. But to understand this matchup here today between the Ferris State Bulldogs and the Michigan State Spartans, we first need to understand what these two teams did last year. First, we'll start off with the Ferris State Bulldogs. Last year was quite the year for the Bulldogs, finishing 20-8 overall and having an invitation to the NCAA tournament and making it all the way to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, and that last round of 8 is the equivalent of the D1 Final Four, where that's the destination that the winners of their regions go. So it was a really prestigious thing for them. Second time they've been there under this current regime, and they wound up losing to the national champion Minnesota State team. So that's something to kind of hang your hat on, but they've lost a lot from that team. We're going to have to see what they bring today.
And for Michigan State, we'll take a look at what they did last year. It was a season that they came in with a lot of hope. They came in number 4 in the AP Top 25 preseason poll last year, but it was really a season of inconsistency for the Spartans, but still had some success.
Yeah, and starting off with a loss at home was not what they had in mind last year, but they really did a good job of trying to rebound. Now, 20-15 on the season is good. Making it to the NCAA tournament and making it to the second round is good, but Michigan State is hoping to take that next step and improve over being just a 10-win team in Big Ten play. And of course, Tom Izzo, what's a season without him coaching in March? 26 consecutive NCAA tournaments for Izzo.
Yeah, you mentioned Tom Izzo, what a great coach he is, but also Andy Brockema, the great coach for the Ferris State Bulldogs. These are two of one of the best coaches in Division I and II college basketball. And we'll take a look at their comparisons here shortly, but just the success between these two is just unmatched.
I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better matchup of two coaches, let alone two coaches that are a short car ride away from each other. Both of these guys have been dominant for a period of time. Izzo in year number 30, as for Bronkema in year 12, both with the national title, and it has been smooth sailing for both sides, both just trying to keep up the success.
So, Charlie, I did some digging, and there are 649 active head coaches out there between Division I and II basketball, and only 8 of those coaches have won a national championship with the current team that they are coaching, and the odds of 2 of those coaches matching up is 0.001%. It is quite the rarity to see a matchup that we are getting right now, which is pretty crazy to see.
Wow, we got a math whiz over here, but that's a fantastic matchup, and I can't wait to see it. And I believe Maren Klein was able to get a conversation with them.
She did. We'll take a look at Maren Klein's conversation with Andy Brockema. Take a listen.
Thanks so much, you guys. I'm here now with head coach Andy Brockema for Ferris State. Coach, just first of all, what does it mean for you and your team to come play in just such a historic place? I know a lot of guys from Michigan themselves know the Breslin Center very well, so what does that mean for you guys?
Well, it means a lot. We are thankful for the opportunity, and we're thankful for Coach to play the Division IIs in Michigan. He does a great job of that, and you know, us D2 guys, we notice that, so we appreciate it. And like you said, you know, this is where the finals are held, and you know, a lot of our guys played in the semis or in the finals, so this has got a special place for them.
Yeah, and then personally for you and your team, you guys had a great exhibition game against Calvin. Little different Michigan State opponent, but still a lot of youth from them. So what are you looking on your team to capitalize on in this one?
Well, it's definitely just more about us. You know, the divisions are so different with everything going on and just the pure physicality and size. So we're going to play hard, try to work on a few things to get better for our regular season games coming up at the end of this week. But just want to see our guys compete and continue to get better. And you talk to any coach at this point in time in the year, and you know, there's things that they're working out. So it's a process. We're aware of that, and we're glad this gets to be part of the process because it's going to be a lot of fun.
So, well, Coach, thank you so much and good luck in this one.
Thank you.
Back to you guys in the studio.
And Coach Brockema loves these exhibitions, especially against Michigan State. When these two teams play, it's very competitive a year that comes to mind is 2017, just how close these teams can be, and we're set for an exciting matchup here tonight, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what these two sides can bring, and the mastermind of Michigan State basketball. I believe Marion Klein's also gotten over there to have a conversation with him now as well.
Tom Izzo is with Marion Klein next. Let's take a listen.
Center, and you know that game.
Well, we had technical difficulties there, but don't worry because it's been 246 days since a men's college basketball game has been played here at the Breslin Center, and that streak ends tonight. Tip-off is just moments away. Matt Merrifield and Jack Stager will have the call between the Ferris State Bulldogs and the Michigan State Spartans. It's time for college basketball right here on Big Ten Plus. Welcome into the Big Ten Plus halftime reports from the ComArts building at Michigan State University. Jacob Maurer alongside Charlie Schmidtgoal. And Charlie, to end that half, Michigan State started to get that offense going. They were cold as of late, but still have a 12-point lead here. They lead Ferris State 40-28.
Yeah, this is a game that was really going back and forth. It was really tight earlier in the earlier stages of this half, but the Spartans really did a good job of turning it up, and it made sense the way that they started to build up that play through that physicality, kind of having that size advantage over the Ferris State Bulldogs.
Yeah, and using rebound, using the fast break to get second chance opportunities for the Spartans really helped them stay ahead in this one.
Yeah, it really has, and this Ferris State team has done a fine job of shooting the ball. They've really not looked terrible on the offensive end of the ball at all. It's just been that Michigan State started off a little bit cold from three. They really were having trouble finding the bottom of the net, and then they were starting to get it together, but ended on a little bit of a drought, a little dry spell for the Spartans.
Well, we'll see those first half stats there. Field goal percentage the exact same, but the big reason why Michigan State has a 12-point lead is those rebounds, rebounding the Ferris State Bulldogs by 13, and that's really helped Michigan State build this 12-point lead.
Yeah, and I mean, something else that has to be looked at here, 10 more free throw attempts for the Spartans, and they've missed 4 of them, which you just don't want to leave those points out there. Ferris State, when you're the little bit smaller team playing against the bigger, more physical guys, I mean, come on. We all played against the 6'5" guy when we were in like 8th grade, and your coach's game plan was just to foul him. It kind of winds up being what the look has been to this point. But Michigan State, using that physicality, they're doing a good job of being aggressive. Just maybe want to clean up some of the little things. You know, take better care of the ball in transition, focus on making all those free throws, and just maybe pass up a good look for a great one every now and again. Move the ball around just a little bit more. I'd like to see a little more from the Spartans there. Yeah,
only 7 turnovers for Michigan State so far in the first half, but it's really felt like a lot more just considering the sloppy play that we've seen from Michigan State. And you see all those offensive rebounds. Tom Izzo loves that. A very big rebounding team for the Spartans. That's always their identity that they try to be. But when you're sloppy with those rebounds and can't really put on the first opportunity, it kind of makes you think that you want to clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt there. And when we take a look back at this first half, the Spartans came out in droves to fill up the Breslin Center. Look at that, Sparty making sure you have a good view. What a kind guy he is in that.
Just wiping off our lens, make sure we can capture all of this that happened. Michigan State got on the board early. Jaden Akins making a nice play there, but really the Spartans moving in transition, and Cohen Carr, he might have chopped some off his haircut, but he did not chop off any inches off his vertical. 2 big slams in transition for Michigan State, and that really got the crowd going.
Yeah, he is an insane athlete. The way that he moves is just next level. As for this Michigan State team, it's been a Tom Izzo team. They've been playing really good defense. They've been aggressive on this team, and the transition dunks, I mean, come on, does it get any better?
For sure. I mean, you have the Izzone there. You have a packed house here tonight at the Breslin Center. And when you can have an explosive play like that, that really adds the home court advantage, especially for this Michigan State team. We know the Breslin Center is one of the toughest places to play, and it's looking like that again for the 2024-2025 season.
No doubt. The fans have really come out and they have made their presence known. And speaking of coming out here and making your presence known, Frankie Fiddler doing a fantastic job. The transfer from Omaha, he averaged 20 points a game last year. Now, granted, when you're playing in the Summit League, that's maybe not the same as playing in the Big Ten, but he's come out here today. He has 12 points. He's looked very, very effective, both slashing, shooting. He has just looked comfortable inside the Breslin Center for the first time. So I think that that's a giant takeaway, that he might be a really good addition for this Michigan State team.
Yeah, and only 10 minutes for Fiddler, but he put up 12 points on 3 for 5 shooting, as you mentioned, Charlie. Super efficient, and that's what Michigan State is going to be looking for, because we know that last year they had a lot of guys leave. A.J. Hogard entering the transfer portal for Michigan State, Tyson Walker, Malik Hall, and Maddie Sissoko graduating. So we can have a scorer fill in those roles and really add those points to this Michigan State offense. It's really exciting to see, especially as we preview this 2024-2025 season.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about in these new faces. You saw 5 newcomers, gave you a little background on them earlier. And for this Ferris State team, basically everybody is new on this side. And they've done a really good job of going out there and building an identity for themselves. Tyler Hamilton really paced them against Calvin. He had 16 points. He really hasn't been there for them to this point yet. I'm interested to see how they change things, because when they were doing well in that half, they were slowing the game down. They were taking up a long time in possession and frustrating Michigan State because they couldn't play at the breakneck pace they want to. I'd like to see Ferris State slow it down, maybe work inside out a little bit more. Just keep taking those shots, but maybe show something different so that way you don't become quite as predictable to the Michigan State defense.
And really, that's when Michigan State is at their best, when they're out in transition and they're running with the basketball. And when Ferris State can really slow it down, we saw really to start that first half, they started kind of slow. It's because they were rushing a lot of shots. Every open opportunity that they had, they really tried to take. But once they were able to slow down, find their playmakers, there's a lot of good scorers on this team. Now, I know that 6 out of the 7 top scorers for Ferris State last season are no longer with the team because of graduating. Obviously, that's what happens in college sports, but they have a lot of new guys that they can go to, a lot of skilled scorers, and we really saw that throughout the first half once they got those bumps taken care of the way.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you see Hamilton with 8, he's setting the pace, but you've also got Bingham, he's got 7. There, you have guys that are going in there and contributing. You just don't have one person that's kind of taking over on offense, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, especially early in the year. A team like Ferris State is going to be successful because of team play and cooperation. So, honestly, I like what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with us is the 3rd member of our team, Marin Klein. She is live now at the Breslin Center, and she got to take in the whole first half courtside. So, Marin, welcome into the Big Ten Plus halftime show. Tell me about that environment there at the Breslin Center.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, it's loud here. This zone is in mid-season form already, and it's just for an exhibition game. We got Ferris State fans making the trip from Big Rapids, so this crowd is loud. It is electrified. I can't even really hear Matt and Jack right next to me, but no one is treating this like an exhibition matchup, especially the coaches. Talking to both of them pregame, they really, really wanted to hit some emphasis before starting the season. And Tom Izzo, he's talking to his players like he would be mid-season too. And interestingly enough, a story that is going to surprise a lot of folks, a bit of a cross around from leagues. Tom Izzo had a phone call earlier this week with Bruins NHL captain Brad Marchand. After Marchand discussed in a post-game interview his coach was getting a little bit of slander for giving him a bit of an earful on a bench after a mistake, and Marchand said, no, that good thing. Even as a captain, you want to be hearing from your coach. You have to take accountability, and talking about how there can be a lack of accountability sometimes. That clip was shown to Tom Izzo. He liked it so much, he sent it, he showed it to his team, and was even able to have a phone call with Brad Marchand. That's a veteran NHL captain and a veteran college basketball coach. 2 different worlds connecting on something. Just an incredible story to hear about, and I'm sure very inspiring for a lot of these young players on Michigan State to hear about that conversation and see even guys up in the big leagues talking about hearing that from your coach. And that's something Tom Izzo is always known for. He wants to talk to his players. It's something he didn't get to do much at Northern Michigan, and just that conversation, thought that was such a cool story and not something you're really going to hear every day, guys.
The intersection of sports coming together there. I love seeing Tom Izzo going out there, making those connections. And look at that, you can teach an old dog new tricks, right? Tom Izzo, in the previous 29 years, to my knowledge, hadn't turned to the hockey game, but hey, gotta love it.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Izzo, always a treat for Michigan State. And you know, he's one of the most unique figures in college basketball. No matter who you root for, you always have to love Coach Izzo. Well, Marin, thank you so much for joining us here on the Big Ten Plus Halftime Show, and we'll see you in the postgame.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Charlie, so now I want to get into what we can now expect for the second half between these two teams. So Michigan State only shooting 26% from three. We know they still have a lot of shooters on this team. Do you think you can expect that to improve? And how do you see the Spartans really getting that aspect of their game going?
So it's going to be a confidence battle, right? You didn't score for the last 3 minutes of play. And I don't know if you know this or not. I think Tom Izzo is going to let them know that when they're in the locker room, right? He's going to bring the energy, but he's going to expect that you're going to go out there and continue to shoot. It doesn't matter if you're 0 for 5. It doesn't matter if you haven't found your shot. The point guards have set up some really nice opportunities. Ferris and Holloman have combined for 9 assists already. So they're getting the ball into shooters' hands. You just have to do a little bit better converting, and you got to shoot with confidence. For some of these guys, it's their lock in and get it done.
And Charlie, we always see a trend really with this Michigan State team that any Michigan State fan knows that to start off a season, they always really start off cold offensively, especially shooting and especially from three-point land. We saw it last year. Michigan State only shot 25% in their first 10 games as a team, but then once they got into December, once they got into those Big Ten games, then those shooters really started to, I guess, step ahead for the Spartans. And they still have 2 of those here today, Trey Holloman and Jaden Akins. And Holloman already hitting, he did not hit a three-point field goal, but we can definitely expect him based on his productivity last season for Michigan State.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that also stood out to me is that Xavier Booker is being treated like the stretch 4 that he is. He's 6'11", yes, but his biggest strength is his ability to move the ball around on the outside, to get shots up. They've given him some opportunities, and you've seen him work inside. We've seen him work outside. I really like the flexibility that the sophomore from Indianapolis, Indiana can bring to this Spartans team. And I really want to see him kind of take a step up, keep taking those chances, keep going after the ball, and maybe see what he can put together.
And when you have the combination of height and shooting ability, that's always dangerous for any team. And Charlie, Michigan State fans know that the Cassius Winston years were awesome, but to make Cassius Winston good, he had Xavier Tillman. He had a big to go with it, and really all those good Michigan State teams had good bigs to fill that role. And so for the past couple of years for Michigan State, they've kind of been rotating between the bigs. So what do you see here? Who do you think can really fill in that spot? Or do you think this rotation of big men between Cooper, Zapala, Kohler, do you think that can work for the Spartans, or do you think we'll really see an alpha dog this season?
I think it's hard to say. It's definitely the tried and true method here in the Big Ten right now. Everyone's going with 2 bigs. You want to have that extra size at both 4 and 5, so that way you're able to play that game in the paint, kind of responding to UConn's success, doing the same. So I'm interested to see not just one, but which group of 2 are going to be able to come together to bring the Spartans to the next level.
And we'll see if we can see that answered in the second half, as well as all our other points. Well, thank you for joining us for the Big Ten Plus Halftime Report. I've been Jacob Maurer alongside Charlie Schmidtkel, and we'll see you guys in postgame. Keep it here on Big Ten Plus for the rest of the second half between Michigan State and Ferris State.
See y'all Monday. Have a good weekend. Let's go.
Thank you, guys, and welcome into the Big Ten Plus post-game show. And the Spartans defeating the Ferris State Bulldogs 85-64. It felt like a little bit of a close game, Charlie, but short runs by the Spartans really helped them come on top in this one.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, they really came together, and the Spartans played like the team that many expect them to be, a very good team. And really, there were a lot of players that stepped up big for the Spartans today. It was a whole team effort, and there was a lot of good to take away for this one for Spartans fans.
And at a point in this game, it was a 45-40 game. Michigan State still up by 5, but that was in the middle of that second half, and then they used a 14-3 run and really took on top after that. So for Michigan State, finally finding their groove towards the end there, and they have a lot to look forward to for this 2024-2025 season.
There is so much good to take away from what this Michigan State team saw. A lot of good out of the 5 new guys that you did get to see going in there, as well as the walk-ons, the Walton brothers getting a moment of shine there as well. And for the Ferris State team, wasn't bad either. I mean, there was a long point in this game where the Michigan State fans, they were sweating. And they played a really solid game. Their best player, Erickson, only 2 for 11 on the day. You have to be pretty happy with the performance that you put up inside of a much bigger atmosphere against, you're talking playing against 4 stars, 3 stars, guys that are going to be all Big Ten players. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, and throughout this game, there was a lot of stars, but Frankie Fiddler, he's our player of the game, and the third member of our team, Marin Klein, is with him right now. Marin, take it away.
Thanks so much, you guys here. Frankie, I know your first game, maybe a few more distractions, didn't get to hear too much from Coach, so what was it like kind of having that experience with him on the bench? What was kind of the conversations you guys were having?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, he was active in the huddles, telling us the right and the wrongs of what he saw. So, it felt good having him, full time in the huddle.
Yeah, and then this was your first experience in the Breslin, so kind of take us through that. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was great. The student section's awesome. The fans are awesome. I'm ready for a good year in here.
All right, absolutely. And just one last question. Take away from these 2 exhibition games, what have you guys kind of learned the most as you get ready for regular season play next Monday?
Yeah, I think we're finding our identity. I think, we're a tough team that can push the ball. We just got to get the stops to do it, and I think we'll be good.
Awesome. Well, Frankie, congrats on the win. Thank you so much. Going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Marin. What a game for Fiddler. 3 for 7 from the field, 14 points. And usually what we see for some of these transfers is it takes a little bit to get, used to, we mentioned before, the big atmosphere at the Breslin Center, playing for a D1 Big Ten school. But Frankie Fiddler, seems like he fits right in.
Yeah, and I think a large part of why he had such an easy transition is while he was at Omaha, they played against some pretty good opponents. If I recall, his freshman year, they went to Mackey Arena and played a number 1 ranked Purdue team. This is a guy that's played in big games before. He's gone out there, and he looked like the seasoned veteran that Michigan State hoped for. I mean, when you go into the portal and you grab a guy like that that's produced so well at a low major, that's exactly what you're looking for him to bring for Michigan State. So I think that they've got to be feeling pretty darn good about having Frankie Fiddler on their side.
And we mentioned the transfers before, but we also have freshmen from Michigan State that really stepped up. I want to talk about Cohen Carr because he also had a fantastic game in this one for the Spartans. 6 for 10 from the field for Cohen Carr with 12 points, and a lot of those points coming the way Cohen Carr likes to deliver them with a big slam at the net.
Oh, yeah. When you look at this game, there was so much that you can look at and take away from this, and I'm very interested to see how both of these teams develop through their season. And when you take a look at these 2 players, they really showed out here in the Breslin.
Someone else who also showed up for Michigan State in the second half was Jeremy Fears, 9 points. Also, Mikkel Bingham, the brother of Marcus Bingham Jr. for the Spartans, also had a nice second half showing for the Bulldogs, but these 2 really led the way for both of their teams in the second half. Bingham keeping it close with the Spartans, but Jeremy Fears really showing out on the offensive end for Michigan State and helping the Spartans put this one away.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of things that weren't points that both of those guys did that made their teams better today. When you look at Bingham, he didn't play last year. He took a red shirt. He came back. He's a dynamic 6'8" wing. That brings a lot of value to you, especially at the Division II level. And then when you take a look at Fears, it was the question of, is he going to be ready to take the reins of this offense and drive them into the promised land? He had 8 assists today. The shooting may not have been where you wanted it to be, but he looked a lot better offensively in the second half. He passed the ball really well. Only 1 turnover to 8 assists. I mean, you will sign up for that from a redshirt freshman any day of the week.
Yeah, and for sure. And when you look at this Michigan State team, they really, as a collective group, did outstanding in this game. A lot of players with really good stat lines. You talk about Jeremy Fears with 9 points, Fiddler with 14, Booker with 10, and you look there at the stats for this full game, just 2% advantage for Michigan State on the field goals, but those rebounds really helped the Spartans have second chance opportunities, and especially those free throws. Getting to the line really helped Michigan State capitalize on the offensive end.
Yeah, the free throw shooting really improved in the second half, taking advantage of those chances that were given to them. And one of the things that really stood out to me, and it was something that we had talked about earlier, Michigan State had really needed a veteran presence at center to go out there and grab boards. And Jackson Kohler, he really did that today. He goes out there getting 11 rebounds for this group. He gave them what they needed and kept the Spartans with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, and Charlie, we mentioned that in the halftime break. Who was going to fill out this big man role for Michigan State? And Jackson Kohler definitely had the best day for the Michigan State Bigs. Almost had a double-double, 9 points for Jackson Kohler in this one, alongside 11 rebounds. And so his presence on the floor was really felt for Michigan State on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and I mean, there was some serious foul trouble in the starting position from Shimon Zapawa. He wound up with 4 fouls, 4 turnovers. It wasn't the performance that he was hoping for in this first game, but the great teams are able to have that next man up mentality and figure out, okay, my teammate isn't there. I need to step up and I need to do something to make this less of a close ball game. And Kohler did it. And when you're that big, you know, you've got that physical presence, you're getting physical inside, it can be draining, but he stayed out there for a long time, played a lot of good minutes, and it really showed.
Yeah, and for Michigan State, you speak about stepping up, and we mentioned the point guard play earlier, and I want to kind of come back to that. So Tyson Walker's gone for Michigan State, A.J. Hogarth, the 2 main ball handlers last year for the Spartans. And now you have guys like Jeremy Fears and Trey Holloman filling in those roles. Fears had 8 assists, Holloman had 9, 17 assists combined between those two. That's so important to see, especially early for Michigan State. That was one of the things we wanted to watch out for, because when you can really have good point guard play, you especially have great success even in the Big Ten.
Yeah, when you see Tom Izzo put on that hat and start pulling out rabbits, that's no Halloween costume. This man is magic when it comes to finding guards. He will just pull them out of thin air, and he does a great job of developing the talent once it gets here, bringing in those highly touted guys and taking them to the next level. And that's really what we saw from this group of younger guards. Very excited to see what those two can bring for the Spartans later this year.
Well, the magician Tom Izzo will be back in action. Him and the Spartans back in action on Monday against Monmouth. That will be right here on Big Ten Plus, and that's where the Spartans will start playing. We'll have it right here for you guys. Well, some thank yous needs to go out to our director and producer, Matt McCullough and Jason Laplow, as well as the people inside our studios helping us here tonight, Derek Mitchell and Kyle Keegan running the boards, as well as Matt Merrifield, Jack Stager, and Marin Klein helping us out with the talent end. We thank you guys for joining us on this Big Ten Plus exhibition game between the Michigan State Spartans and the Ferris State Bulldogs. I've been Jacob Maurer alongside Charlie Smickle saying good night from East Lansing.